What's up, G Showland, and welcome to the best damn Godzilla podcast I've ever been on. Because it's the only damn Godzilla podcast I've ever been on. That's right, it's time for a Friday Godzilla block party. And I am your host, G1, and I am joined here by two of my cohorts. First up, G95. What's going on, brother?
Nothing much. Happy to be here as always.
Yes, sir. And once again, we are joined by my man, Megalon, aka Chase. What's up, brother?
Oh, nothing much. Just hanging out and having a good day. How about you guys?
Same here, same here. Well, if you guys are joining us, you know that this is the podcast we talk about Godzilla, and that's what we're going to get into because a couple of things dropped this week that made me oh so very happy. The first being SH MonsterArts announcement of the Godzilla 1989 figure, complete with LED dorsal fins, background music, and a roaring sound effect. Oh my God. Let's start with you, G95. What were your thoughts when you seen this beautiful piece of plastic?
It's nothing short of impressive, to say the least. Monster Arts always does a fantastic job with everything they do, and it's always way too expensive for me. But for those who can't afford it, you lucky bastards. And this is the first time they put out something that has like more or less light and sound, right?
I believe so. As far as
Yeah.
Godzilla goes.
Yes, as far as Godzilla goes, yeah. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, I'm hoping it doesn't come out like too cheesy looking, but I'm sure they have their shit together enough to where it'll look cool. And I mean, the BioGoji suit is one of the best. You know, at least one of the more like kind of realistic looking and like most well made too. So that'll be awesome to see.
Totally agree. Chase, man, what do you think about that sweet piece of plastic?
That's my favorite Godzilla design. And it comes out around my 21st birthday. So I'm kind of hoping Mom will kind of surprise me with a cool little Godzilla gift. That'll be my first SH Monster Arts. I almost picked up some and back, but I don't have $100 to spend on figures.
Mm-hmm.
But for BioGoji and having the atomic breath light up and the spikes on his back, that sounds like a pretty good prized possession of mine to have. So
Yeah, nice
I'm
birthday gift.
excited for it.
It also drops around my birthday. I won't say how old I'll be, but it'll be in the high 30s. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna drop a little line to my wife, like, could I get that? If not, there's something else I want, and I can't talk about that yet, but it does involve Godzilla. And if I am able to get that, then forget it. I'll be the happiest Godzilla fan this side of the President of Toho. I'm telling you right now. But I love this figure. Honestly, it is absolutely gorgeous to look at. Every piece of detail, the articulation on it, the effects. I mean, the pictures of Godzilla, when he had his mouth open and the light in his mouth, like all I thought of was pulse, the radiation pulse, because that's one of my favorite weapons Godzilla used, and of course, the first time we seen that was in Godzilla versus Biollante. So you know how SH Monster Arts they like to put like the special effects, like they'll put fire or they'll give them the atomic breath. I would love if they can come up with some kind of like capsule type of thing to imitate the pulse, because I would lose my mind. I'd pay about $100 just for that, just a little capsule pulse thing. I swear I would. I'd buy a Ghidorah and bring it there. I'll do the whole 9 yards, man. I'll reenact Godzilla movies with these toys, like seriously, on a shoestring budget, because I wasted all my money on the damn figures. But what do you think about that, G95? Like as far as the special effects part goes?
Um, well, like I said, I don't have any Monster Arts figures, so I don't really. A lot of the figures that come out with like little add-ons, like the special effects kind of thing, always come across as maybe unnecessary to me because I'm someone who I would want it either one way or the other. You know, I'm too indecisive to be able to choose which one I would want it to have. So I'm trying to just go with like the stock basic figure without the special effects. Like I have this little Jango Fett bust thing that has an interchangeable helmet, you know, or yeah, but one little magnetic head is just like Tomorrow Morrison's face, and the other one has the classic Mandalorian helmet. And I could never decide which one I wanted to look at, so I don't actually have that up. So that's in the same boat I would be in. I'm way too indecisive to choose which one I would want or which way I would have it. So it's kind of an all or nothing thing for me. But I mean, it's cool that they give us the option. Just maybe I'm the problem.
I'm not saying nothing. No. Oh man, Chase, what about you? What do you think about the special effects, if any, that come, like anything off the top of your head you would like to see or have?
I kind of thought the atomic pulse that you mentioned would be cool too. And I even envisioned how they could do it with like sticking some like slits in the articulation spots on the monster or the kaiju. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have very many. I don't have any Monster Arts figures with special effects, but uh, like Matt said, I kind of thought it was kind of silly when they had put out the little tanks and stuff like that. I think maybe a one-time buy would be cool, but like when it comes to the special effects, like the monster stuff, that stuff's cool. Like even if it's incorporated inside, the actual figure, I always thought that was cool. Like the Biolante figure, how I don't know if that was like officially what happened, but like the stomach lights up. I don't know if that was like a legitimate thing or people like bypass the figure to do that. I'm not too sure, but I see pictures like that all the time, and I thought that was pretty awesome. The stomach lighting up and then Godzilla spikes on the BioGoji figure lighting up. That's badass.
Oh yeah.
I wish I had more figures that had little gimmicks like that. I mean, I have tons of G14 figures, and I have the little light and sound figure, and that one's pretty cool too. Where the little, not even the little book size, little like McDonald's toy Godzilla they made out for $12. But that thing's cool. It roars when you press on its back and lights up on the wall. I'm sure you guys have seen it.
Yeah.
But I always thought those were that you think that would be a no-brainer for Godzilla figures to have some kind of gimmick like that. Like that one atomic breath figure the G14 figure has, where you bend it over and it shoots the atomic breath out of its mouth.
Right.
I don't know if you guys have seen that one.
Yeah, and
that
it makes
kind of
roars.
funny looking, but still a cool little idea.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, let me ask you, because you brought up like the tanks and stuff, and you're telling me you wouldn't mind if they made a Super X set, which comes with Super X 1, 2, and 3, because I'd totally be all over that.
I thought they have though.
What?
I thought they did make figures.
Don't tell me that.
I'm pretty much the Super X.
I think I've seen Super X figures on SH MonsterArts, especially for the Destroya, the Destroya figure and Burning Godzilla. They even have the tank, the Mazer tanks. So I thought they already had the.
Well, look.
Figures.
I'm totally out of the loop then, because I had never seen anything like that. I'm not gonna lie. I'd rather, my personal favorite Super X is from Return of Godzilla, so that's the one I'd be looking for. But I would get all of them just because, Super X. I would actually like to see a plant form Biollante. I'd pick that up. I'd buy that.
Yeah.
Rose form Biollante.
I've seen like resin kit Biollante in rose forms, and they're really beautiful. I thought those were cool looking figures to have, but I don't have $160 to spend on them or more.
Yeah,
that's not the problem. It was funny thinking about it, because I said a few years ago to one of my friends that the Godzilla figures are so beautiful to look at. And even if you see like Godzilla artwork, it's really pretty. The artwork's really beautiful to look at. And I was just thinking, but the figures that look really nice, they're expensive, man. You got to put out a mortgage on your home to get them.
Word. You're not
So,
lying.
but I'm like,
No.
I'm in the wrong profession.
I know how they are expensive because I went to G Fest back in 2001 and 2, and I racked up on a bunch of Bandai vinyls, and wow, I came. I spent a lot of money. I spent a lot of money, and
Mhm.
you know those they're non-articulate. They're stiff, and you could like my King Kong, you can move his arms and his legs, but that's about it. But these monster art figures, man, I'd be willing to dish out the 1, 2. There's a store in the mall over here where they have Biollante, and it's like $450.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh man, listen, oh, this promotion's going in. I don't.
For a few weeks or no?
Yeah, exactly. I'm over here like, you know what? I got this promotion. It's going down. Maybe I'll start putting a down payment, a little layaway plan on that. But just to have it, I don't know. I'm crazy. Like I'm spontaneous. I would go into that damn store and just pick it up for no freaking
Well,
reason.
if I had the money, of course, I would probably buy all these figures if I could. But because I don't,
Nah,
it's
yeah.
kind of
My local comic store has, or used to have, a ton of Monster Art stuff. They had, I think, Destroya and King Kong, and they had the Super X. They had King Ghidorah, a few different Godzillas, Godzilla Jr., all kinds of stuff. All kinds of. I would always just see them. I would see them and like, oh, I want you. I want you so bad, but I can't afford you. Because, I mean, they were decently priced too. They were between, 90 and $120, which, for Monster Arts, that's reasonable.
It sure is.
So, but, now that I have a better job and could probably afford it, even though I shouldn't, if I really wanted one, I could go there and get one, but they don't carry them anymore.
That's the worst. Well,
Yeah.
Speaking of Monster Arts, there was another one that came out. Well, I think it dropped this week too. The Eva edition Godzilla, who's purple, orange, green. The standard Eva. We were getting a lot of the Mecha Godzilla looks of that, the smaller toys. But this is a straight up Monster Art Godzilla figure. They're coming out with the Eva color scheme. Excuse me, the Eva 01 edition. You guys seen this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of crazy. Yep. What do you think about it? The G95.
I love, as I've mentioned many times, Evangelion is one of my favorite animes, if not my favorite. And the fact that they're combining that with Godzilla is fucking super rad. Excuse me. But the way they did the paint on it, it's just too, blocky. They're like, okay, we're definitely going to do this little portion purple and these little parts green and this part over here purple and that's going to be green. It's not I guess I'd like it to look a little bit less blocky, more or less. It's very, a lot of very straight lines and, very cut off sections. It looks a little odd.
Right.
The kind of paint scheme that I liked for the NECA figure that was the based on the video game, the video game kind of pixelated.
Right, I actually have that, yes.
Yeah, I've been meaning to pick that up for a while now, but anyway, I really like that color, not necessarily color scheme, but the way that the color was applied, kind of all over, a little bit sporadic. There was a plan there, but it wasn't necessarily all uniform and kind of together. But maybe that's just the kind of artist in me who likes more abstract kind of stuff as opposed to uniform. But I don't know. It's cool, great idea. We've been seeing it for about a month now on the Mechagodzillas. But the way the paint scheme is a little wonky to me.
I hear you, Chase. What do you think? And which Godzilla figure they're using? That's the like their standard Hesai Godzilla figure, right?
What's that?
That was like their standard Hesai Godzilla figure that they're using, right? Like the Space Godzilla looking figure.
That has like 2 other repaints too.
Yes.
But Rebirth Godzilla actually looks pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. This figure, the paint job, I think it's an exclusive. This figure, right? It's only if you. I think it has something to do with Shin Gojira. If you pre-order something, or there's only like a limited amount of them. I think.
Yeah, it says web exclusive.
Yeah. It's not my favorite MonsterArts they've made, but I mean, Godzilla's Godzilla. I think it's cool they're doing all this to promote Godzilla Resurgence, though. But the figure itself, I'm not too interested in it. In all honesty, it's just because the paint job. I mean, it's just not my kind of style, but it's not horrible. It's just not my preference.
Nah.
Did you watch Evangelion?
No. I know about it. I actually had the VHS for the Godzilla, the animated series of the '98 Godzilla, and they showed that anime in the trailers before I watched the video. And as a kid, when I was watching that, I always thought that was awesome, but I never really understood what it was until I started hearing about it in the past couple of months. And then when I traced it back, I'm like, oh, so that's what that was. And I just haven't gotten around to watch it yet. I mean, it looks cool, but I haven't. Yeah. The monsters they had in it looked cool. So
the angels.
Yeah. And as a kid, I was all into, obviously monsters and scary looking things. So I was really hooked on it, but I just had no clue what it was.
It's definitely not for kids. It's it's an anime that's all about mental illness and religion. It's a little bit more subversive for adults than kids, but
Yeah.
You'd probably get a kick out of it. You'd like it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I can send you a link to a website that has all the
definitely, because I'll be popping up Netflix here in a little bit, so I have stuff to watch. Is it on? If it's on, excuse me, I'm stuttering. Is it on Netflix?
It is not. But there's tons of streaming websites like Kiss Cartoon and other stuff that you can stream it from a laptop or something like that.
Okay.
Nice.
Definitely worth checking out. It's great.
The world's gonna revolve around Eva and Godzilla. That's how this conversation ends. Jumping topics. So this week, let me take a sip of water real quick. I'm sorry. This week there was
hot out today, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, it is. This week the community, the fandom, was stirred up with a post stating that the Shin Godzilla plot was released or leaked, or a potential plot was leaked or released, and the fandom was in an uproar because it was not true yet. It was a misleading promotion. It was clickbait. And there was many flame wars directed toward the posters, or the post, not the posties, I guess the posties, however you want to call it. And basically it was like these guys were talking about, fellow fandom members were talking about, they were speculating off this plot synopsis where people thought that they had a scoop, which they did not. So again, this brought the fandom into an uproar, and it got a little ugly. So I guess what I'm trying to ask is, Do you guys think when things like that happen, when you have an unknown source come out and say, "Hey, here's a plot reveal or plot synopsis of X movie," and in this case it was Shin Gojira, and it all turns out to be a lie. As a member of the community, how does that make you feel? How does that make you react? And we're gonna start with you, Chase. How do you feel about things to that nature?
You know, when people post false information, I will say this though, when I did read what they posted, it did make me a little bit more hyped. It didn't sound cool, and just thinking about it going through my head, it was cool to just think about, Godzilla going through what they were talking about to some extent. There's some I didn't agree with it, but whenever someone posts things on, especially something that I have to, when I supply content for a group of people that come to me for legitimate news or sources or whatever it is that I post, just to know that it's real and they can trust it. Whenever I read something that is not legitimate, it just kind of pisses me off. Um, I think what's is there? I mean, obviously, people will do that to just stir up a fandom, obviously. But maybe it's just because I'm older. I just don't see the point in it. I, uh, I wouldn't, I, I wouldn't want to say something and get people false hopes, or say something that's completely not true and then get people to actually believe it, and then it actually not happen in the movie, and you get people turned away from the movie, you
Right.
know? So it just kind of pisses me off, and it's just a lack of it. It's just immature. I think if people want to do something to get hype or whatever, make fan art or post certain fan art, or or post your own speculation, but make it clear it's not true, and just have a discussion about it. Don't post false information and say that it is well, they didn't say it was legit, but they said they had a source, and obviously they got called out and found out. Don't do that. I mean, there's other ways you can get hype resonating with the fandom. So it just kind of ticks me off.
Now, hey,
I just don't see a purpose in it.
G95, man, what's your reaction to things like that?
More or less, I don't really care that much. It's a shitty thing to do. It's like what Chase said. It's pointless. I don't, I don't totally understand the reasons why people do it, unless other than they want hits on their website or whatever, or hits on their video, which is immature, and it's like, yeah, it's childish, really. But I don't really get upset at it. Like, oh, such and such is fake. I mean, if I don't see it from a source that I know is legit, I automatically more or less assume it's fake. Um, it's what bothers me is the people who just automatically kind of believe it by default.
Right.
Or it's the people who believe believe just about everything that they see on the internet. That's that stretches way beyond just the fandom side of me, just into other stuff. But it's dumb because they get so up in arms about it. They're so willing to believe it, and they take it as fact that it's sad. And they'll defend their false point to no end, to where they're fighting with other people about whether it's true or not, or how these other people who either know it's not real or didn't hear about it, or how they're stupid, they're the dumb ones. I don't know. It's so all in all, it's the people who believe it and take it as this misinformation as fact. As That's what bothers me.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's a shitty thing to do, to put this false information out there, but I mean, I don't know. It's it's understandable, I guess. But some people are just dumb enough to believe it, and that's what annoys me.
It's just typical clickbait. Now look, I respect everybody in the fandom because it's something we all love and enjoy. This equally. Um, but you don't need like the clickbait, and it's wrong because, like you said, Matt, it gets people hyped, and then they're gonna believe everything they read, and it's nothing. And then when they actually see the finished product, and it's not what they read, we've had this discussion before. They beef and bitch about it. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't take everything you read on the internet for fact. That's why whenever we do our speculation, we straight say we don't know if this is real or not. This is us just having fun with it. That's what I always say. That's what I like to do. I'm not going to fault the people who put that up. I mean, to a degree, it's kind of, come on, dude, don't do that. But on the flip side of it is, you know what? They enjoy the fandom enough to go and create something and speak about it the same way I've done it and we're doing it here, to share it with everybody. But I think they could have handled it better. What really bothers me is when something like that happens, you see the dissension in the ranks of G fans. We fall apart. We get on each other. We rip each other to pieces. And it's kind of like
we have a meltdown.
Yeah, exactly. You have a meltdown. Now, I understand there's a lot of people, and personally, we probably don't know each other. So we don't know what sets an individual off. But when you're on the internet and you're spewing all this craziness at people, sometimes violently or sometimes just being a complete jerk, because there was some, I like I said, I didn't read or go into the article. I read through the comments. I find more entertainment value through the comments, and I guess that's a pretty lousy thing to say, but I do. Because I want to see reactions. I want to see. I'm really looking for the person who stands out and says, you know what, guys, let's stop bashing the dude. We've had our fun with him. He's got to change his way. And I think later on in the comments, the dude was like, okay, we made a mistake. We're fixing it now. We put up the, that it's just pure speculation, things like that. I mean, they took proper actions, the people who originally posted it. But there were some people who were calling other people out. And it's like, dude, why do you feel the need to do that? Why do you feel the need to call out somebody you have never met, no idea who they are? Why do you feel the need to call somebody out when they ask a simple question online? Like, is this real? Oh, you dumbass, you didn't read that it's not real? You didn't take a chill pill. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he joined in the conversation at that particular moment, and there's 57 comments, and he did not scroll to the first comment in it. I do that. I'll hit previous comment, because I want to know what's going on from the jump. Mm-hmm. But some people don't do that, and there's no reason for you to get all up in arms and start spewing venom towards somebody else, because it's not cool. It makes us look like a bunch of, again, I said this before, it makes us look like a bunch of crybaby brats, and we shouldn't be like that. We all fucking come together because of a giant monster that wrecks shit. You're not a giant monster that wrecks shit. Stop acting like a giant monster that wrecks shit behind your computer in the safety of your own home. You just take a chill pill and just relax, man. Be cool. Be one with the flow. It drives me nuts. That's what makes me mad more than anything.
Sorry to cut you off, but the people like that are the reasons why I have left so many Godzilla pages that I have been on. I used to be on tons of them, but now with everything going on in my life, I don't need I want to enjoy what I'm reading, what I want to engage myself in people that are going to embrace the news that comes or whatever content is shown and not degrade it and destroy themselves or others over it. So I've left tons of movie pages and Godzilla pages because I've just gotten tired of the kids whining and getting so butthurt about something that either is or not going to happen that they disagree with. And I just got to save your breath for something else. And but especially over the internet, there's no point of calling someone out or degrading someone else just because either you got nothing else better to do or it's a disagreement. So I have left many pages because of that. So
Yeah.
I think it's just the generation that we're in today. It's just a big immature group of people on the internet. Those keyboard warriors. So
I
Yeah.
think Godzilla has like one of the I hate to say it, but like most aggressive fan bases. Not one of the worst, but it's up there with like the worst. People always say DBZ has the worst fan base just because people get pissed at each other. They will be fucking livid if you say Goku can't win this or that, or death battle with Superman. But Godzilla is just as bad as that. God, we don't have to get into how God's like whether or not the debate of whether or not Godzilla can or can't be beat. That we don't necessarily have to do right now. We can get to it at some point, but I'm just saying like how from 0 to 10 people get so quickly in this fandom. It's crazy.
I tell you,
another fandom that's really worse is the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World fandom. I've had to leave those ones. I'll join them, and the first thing I read, I'll leave because majority, for one, I'll say the majority of them have been 12-year-olds, and but I have seen like adults in their 30s argue about Jurassic Park and Jurassic World and what they should do next or disagreements, and it's just as bad too. And ooh.
Well, I'll tell you this.
Don't go to those waters.
I'll say this. I'm kind of glad that when my interest peaked again for Godzilla during the 90s, the internet, it wasn't like this. There was no outlet. And the people I hung out with at that time, I was the outcast of the group, but we all hung out, but G1 was these dudes are talking comic books, talk to him. Oh, he talking a monster movie, talk to him. But it was cool. They respected it, and that's what kind of drove me crazy when I look at like the internet and meet new people through the web. The people I hung out with back in the day were not into any of the shit I'm into, but they accepted me for who I was. When I meet people who are into the shit I'm into, they want to fight and argue with her. I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? This is nuts. It's completely ass backwards, and it just makes me laugh. But it makes me laugh and sad at the same time because we're all here for one thing: giant fucking monsters. And if we're gonna be beefing about, beefing with other people when they ask a simple question like, "Is this true?" Come on, man. Again, maybe he didn't see it. Maybe he didn't go back 20 comments. Maybe he just got in right now. So it's things like that. People need to take a chill. Because honestly, I would love to go to like G-Fest, and I believe I'm going to G-Fest hopefully next year. I'm going to try to get out there depending on other situations. I got to find out when other conventions are coming around because I might be going to several conventions next year. But I would love to go to G-Fest next year and wear a big fat shirt. I'm G1 from the G Show. Now, here's the thing. One of the things I like doing on the page is putting up whatever content, Godzilla content there is. And in all honesty, I think this is the 4th year we've been doing this. There hasn't been a straight up out of control brawl on any of my picks. There might have been 1 or 2 in the 4 years, but see, I think with age you kind of know how to diffuse situations, and I love that. I live for it, actually. So I'll go in and I'll just, without being a dick, I'll call them out on something. I'll just lay down the facts, and if they get a little on hand, then I lay down the facts in a sarcastic manner. They don't like that, they can leave. But the facts are the facts, and that's what it is, And we're not that big of a page where we get these fanboy wars. We're not like GVA, for instance, but GVA is one of those pages that calls for it. You know, that's purposefully done. It's not like Shin Goji sitting back saying, "Why? I don't understand where this is all coming from. What's with the hate?" That's intentionally done for a reason. It's an entertainment page. He makes no qualms about it, and it works on every level in that regard. We don't have to do that when we do something funny or something. I wouldn't say controversial, but something that would get the community involved. 9 out of 10 times it's civil, and that one time it's not civil, it's not even that bad. You know, it's not at all. I mean, G95, you're a testament to that. You've seen how things go down on the G Show page. You post on it, so you know.
My old page, that just now more or less defunct Destroya page, kept things pretty in check, but there was definitely instances where things got really out of hand really quick. And yeah, I didn't necessarily know how to handle it, so I would occasionally get into these arguments or discussions with people, but, you know, I don't think it was ever, like, warranted, I guess. You know, and a lot of it is what, you know, Chase mentioned a few minutes ago of to keyboard warriors. You know, if you went to G-Fest, you would never, ever see any of this. That's a damn near guarantee. Because
I've been there twice. I was 22, 23 years old, and it was beautiful. The camaraderie there was beautiful.
Well, because, like, you know, nobody's gonna call someone out in person. It's the anonymity of being...
No one does that in this generation. Call someone out face to face. What, do you think we all have courage, man?
That's why I'm going to wear that shirt G1 from the G Show. If you have any negative thing to say, man, hey, I'm here. Come on. I'm going to podcast from there live from G-Fest. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, G95. I apologize.
I don't know. Well, yeah, I don't know. You never see anywhere else besides the internet. You know, except for maybe Comic-Con. If you remember, there's a few years ago, there was a stabbing at one of the at a Harry Potter panel. Chris Hardwick actually has a really, really good joke about it in one of his stand-up specials, saying like, "Oh no, there was a stabbing at Comic-Con, but you know, it wasn't with any of the thousands of dangerous weapons that are on the hall floor, not, you know, no Klingon battle axes or maces or anything like that. The weapon, a mechanical pencil."
Oh my god.
That's what it was. Somebody got stabbed in the head with a fucking mechanical pencil over a chair.
I do remember that.
Yeah, I don't, nothing like that would really ever happen. You know, none of these, there would never be a in-person flame war.
Oh.
We're all too socially awkward to ever try to have that kind of confrontation with someone.
Not I said G1. Oh, I got a reverb here.
I think also over the internet, common sense kind of kicks in more effectively when we're out in public. And over the internet, we can just, you know, the top of our thoughts in our heads can just be blurted out without any, you know, people don't think before they say something. So, and I've noticed that a lot on the internet, and I think that would be kind of the difference. You know, if you actually go somewhere like G-Fest, there's going to be probably a more mature crowd of people there too, and we're not gonna, you know, like you said, we're not gonna fight people or argue with people on the floor, you know, like we do over the internet, you know. So.
Right. Well, yeah. So that's that topic. Come on, guys. We're all family here. Keep it together. We're all gonna see Shin Godzilla one way or another. Speaking of Shin Godzilla, Chase, you said you've seen something that this movie might be 2 hours long. A first for Toho?
Well, it hasn't been just one thing. It's been at least about 3 things now. I had the one article that I read from Universe G, and then I saw the poster on Twitter, the Hong Kong poster, And then they also have two new Shin Gojira trailers, but they're not different. They're the same footage, but they're one is shorter and one is just it's longer, but it has like it starts talking more about the actors more in it. So I don't really think that one's new, but there's definitely this one article that is 33 seconds long. I mean, this one trailer, and it's it is for Hong Kong, and it's all in Hong Kong. Promoting the movie. Shin Gojira is spelled out in I wouldn't know how to say
in their native tongue.
Yeah, their native tongue. So, but yeah, I've seen a few things about it, but it says 160 minutes underneath the poster, and in the article that I read too, it said 160 minutes. And I even asked about that too, and he said that's just what it translated to. Was 160 minutes. So
that's extra long.
It made me think. We're kind of underestimating this movie here. Toho hasn't done a 2-hour long Godzilla movie in a while, and let alone a really big budget Godzilla film for a long time too. So I'm kind of excited to see. I mean, a 2-hour long movie, they have to have a lot of things. A lot of surprises. You would think.
Oh, when you say the word surprise, it leads right into speculation. But before we get there, G95, what do you think of a possible 2+ hour Shin Gojira movie?
Sounds good to me. Something like that.
The more the better, huh?
Yeah, right? As long as it's not, like, padded down with unnecessary shit. I don't really care how long it is.
Well, they're going to have...
shorter movie is kind of more poignant and to the point than, a really long movie. Like, I love Final Wars to death, but it also feels like one of the longest, most stretched out Godzilla movies, and I feel like they could have cut out a lot of stuff.
I fall asleep to Final Wars more than any Godzilla movie I watch, to be honest.
Stop.
That's a conversation for another time. We'll all be involved with that one.
Definitely.
I just had to add that.
But yeah, I mean, give me two. If it is going to be 2 hours, make it 2 hours that are worth it.
Right.
Like Civil War was 2 hours more or less.
2 hours and 40 minutes.
2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's longer than I thought it was. Yeah, 2 hours and 40 minutes, almost 3 hours of more or less all very necessary things. Maybe cut out the occasional thing here or there, whatever. But some movies are just, they pad their runtime, and that doesn't need to be Godzilla. I'm not saying that's the case, but if it is, I don't know.
Well,
make it 2 worthy hours.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say a 2+ hour runtime on this Godzilla movie sounds about accurate with the amount of cameos they're trying to drop in. It's like every Godzilla star to ever be in one of those movies that is still alive today is gonna make an appearance in this movie. They might even do some of that holographic shit and resurrect a couple of people just to be in the movie, which would be kind of cool. But I think this goes back to like one of our first conversations, one of our first podcasts we've done. Is Toho trying to one-up Legendary? Now, here's my thing. Toho had absolutely no problem whatsoever one-upping G98 at all. Because, it just wasn't the movie everybody wanted it to be. So Toho say, okay, we're just going to bring out Godzilla. Done. You won already. You already won. Here's Godzilla and here's Toho making it. And again, this is a conversation for another time as far as Legendary is concerned. Legendary made Godzilla. Regardless if he's in the movie for 5 minutes or not. That was Godzilla. When he's on screen, it is the absolute greatest thing to look at. It's beautiful. and it is the Godzilla we've all come to know and love. A variation, but it is that you know it is him. But I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. So my thing is, I hope Toho is not trying to one up that, because I don't think it's necessary in this occasion. There's no reason to. Let that be its own separate thing. You don't have to one up it. You don't. You really don't. You can add more Godzilla. That's always a plus. You could do it. But the fan base wasn't as split down the middle. Oh no, let me rephrase that. The fan base wasn't to one side with Legendary. It was split down the middle the way it was with Godzilla 98, where 99% of the fan base hates that movie. You know? So 2.5 hours, that's long.
Especially for Toho.
Especially for Toho. And especially because it's all CG apparently. So their budget's already doubled. If it's that long, I don't think they're gonna use so much monster action. I think it's gonna be more human element, if that's the case.
Rough, but I really, based on that trailer, I don't think it's all CG.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, like, the tail, very obviously, part of it was real, but, another part was extended with CG and, some stuff here and there, but that looks like a suit to me, more or less.
Right.
It's the, I've gotten into many arguments about this because I remember reading many things, and they were saying that the suit, in the beginning, it was going to be a suit fused within CGI. The red on him is CGI and everything like that. But then when they said the suit malfunctioned and stopped working, apparently, then they were just going to go through a full, CGI Godzilla. And if you look in the trailer, you can see at one point when they're shooting the tanks at Godzilla in the city, and then the helicopter comes up on him and starts launching missiles at him, that looks like a full CGI Godzilla.
Right.
But you can't tell me that in one of the first shots we see of Shin Gojira, when his eyes, this is the one thing I go to, is that when his eyes are spread apart, you can't tell me that Toho made him look like that through CGI. I mean, it just looks, you can't take a movie seriously when it looks like that. So I kind of argue with people about that. I've gotten into a few arguments where they're saying, but it's all CGI. And I disagree. I still think it's a suit mixed with CGI. And so I agree with you. I think the red is part of the suit. I think the red is part of the suit. I think that's in there, but I think there's little touch-ups here and there to enhance it, to give it more of a real feel. I think we're all in agreement that what we saw in the trailer is, save for maybe that one or two shots, that's a suit. There's probably some CG in there. I think, I'm gonna have to rewatch the trailer after mentioning the CG. If that's all CGI, I'm gonna say there's no reason why they can't do Hollywood-style movies if that's all CGI, because that looks so detailed for CGI.
But we've seen the director's previous work with Attack on Titan, and that's CGI, and we know how not great that looked.
Yeah.
And so I don't think Toho or Japan is really there with the CGI yet.
I must step in here.
I think they know that.
I'm going to step in real quick because I like what you just said. I'm going to disagree just a little bit because I was actually going to touch on that, and then you said it first. I think Japan actually was like an innovator for the use of CG, more so than what we get here in the States and in this part of the world. And I say that not because some of their CG is absolutely outstanding. We have better CG out here. But because they're not afraid to take their CG to the next level. They're not afraid to make anime movies come to life. hell, even Hong Kong, and I'm gonna go back a decade or so. A movie, Storm Riders. I love that movie because it was like a comic book come to life, where they're ripping off their arms and they're using their blood as weapons. And you watch it now, it looks a little bit dated, but at the time it was phenomenal. They take it and they run with it, and it'll look cartoony and goofy, but yet they're conveying their message. Whereas over here, sometimes they do it too much. They overdo it. It bogs it down. Then the movie's not good, and it's not what maybe the director originally intended you to see. So in that regard, with Godzilla, I don't think they should go CG heavy, Toho at least, because we're so used to one thing. And then what Legendary gave us whenever Godzilla was actually on screen was nothing short of amazing.
I think you might be misinterpreting my point.
I might have.
That Japan and Toho know that they can't produce, Legendary level or Transformers level kind of CGI. So I think they know that they won't. They're smart enough to know, like, okay, we're not advanced enough yet, or we don't have enough of a budget yet to make it look spectacularly amazing and realistic. Sure, we can do it. We can make it look crazy and out there, but can we make it look real? Which is the big thing with CGI now, is making the craziest shit looking as if it was actually in front of you. And I think they know they're not quite at that point yet. Case in point, Attack on Titan. So I think they're smart enough to know that we should use a suit, and plus it's keeping with the tradition of a suit. And Japan is all about tradition and honor and respect and all of that. And probably goes without saying that Toho would follow in that same tradition, more or less, of keeping with the suit.
Right. Jace, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, hold on. My clock was going off.
That's okay.
I'm sorry about that.
That's fine.
That's, like I said, I know August Ragoon has said the whole entire thing is CGI, but I don't know. I mean...
Well, if he said that, I got to be honest. If he said that, I honestly tend to believe pretty much anything he says. He's a well-respected source, and he's not somebody that's just going to put something up. If he has sources, multiple sources in Japan that feeds him information, which I don't see how he doesn't, I'll take his word for it. But even though I will say, and I think we might be all in agreement here, there looks like there's some suitmation elements, but enhanced with the CG. And then there's also certain shots that you can tell is complete CG. For instance, Puppet Godzilla in the beginning of that trailer.
There are certain shots in that trailer that totally, you can see just how Godzilla moves. There has to be some kind of man inside there controlling this. It just doesn't look all completely computer generated.
Or they can go the King Kong route and just have a suit actor in dots, and they take his movements, and then they create their 3D model, and it's a wrap. They go from there. That could be it too.
Mainly CGI, though. I don't think that even their mocap technology is quite at that level. That it's I think maybe 10 to 15 years behind what we have now. The Peter Jackson's King Kong still looks,
which is kind of funny with all the technology Japan has too.
I just don't. I think their film industry isn't big enough for them to get a budget to afford that stuff.
Well, I think
that's like a lot of their cool toys are all sold overseas to rich people and businessmen and crazy expensive hotels and stuff. But they have a very, very small film industry, and I think that takes into account.
I haven't kept up with that with the Japanese film industry in a while. It's just been Giant Monster movies a bust, but I know there's one particular movie. I think Toho might have produced it with the with the tsunami, which, I mean, the special effects there were really on point. And, you know, a lot of it was, no, if not all of it was CG. I do see what you're saying, G95, but I do see what you're saying. I agree with you to a point, because I also agree with what Chase said, considering Japan is like the hub of technology. But in that regard, like you said earlier, G95, the cost of making these movies. Are Japanese movie studios willing to shell out $200 million like, you know, American studio is $250 million to make like Batman v Superman, where there's not a lot of CG. You know, there is, but there's not. It's dudes in suits, and to a point. Could we get something like that in a Toho production of Godzilla? I'll give you guys some final thoughts, and then we're gonna wrap it up. So, Chase, what do you think, man? What final thoughts? Anything in your head you want to get out?
I think it would be really interesting to see them start incorporating suitmation with motion capture and CGI. You know, think about putting those green dots, you know, the green dots on the suit of the actual monster, and then with motion capture and stuff like that, that could give a really good scale. I think that'd be interesting to see. You know, who knows? I mean, I'm sure one day we'll start seeing some really high quality stuff like that from Japan, but at this point, it's kind of, you know, coin toss. You know, who knows? Godzilla Resurgence, you know, with that hybrid camera that they're using or whatever, that effect they're doing, who knows? Maybe that's their first step into showing us what they can do.
Who knows? G95, last thoughts?
I think we've summed it up, more or less, yeah.
I like the way you think. Well, my final thought is this. To an extent, there hasn't been a better kaiju movie as far in the last 20 years out of Japan since Gamera 3. It has everything, and I cannot wait for a Godzilla movie from Toho Studios to rival that movie. I have not seen it yet as far as a complete spectacle goes. Hopefully Shin Godzilla changes my mind. But until then, you know, that's still up in the air. I want to thank my guest tonight, G95. As always, it's a pleasure. You can catch him on the G Show every weekend.
Happy to be here.
Chase, thank you again for joining us. You know the spot is always open every Friday. You can hang out.
Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. You find him on the Megalon page. He's admin in there and also making memes for GVA. I am, of course, G1, and you can find me every day except for Saturday and Sunday, maybe occasionally, on the G Show Facebook page and doing these podcasts because it's fun. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you all adieu and stop fighting amongst each other, fandom. We love you. Peace.